there, welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I've got a lot of DIY home decor crafts for you today. I can't wait to show you what I have for you. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on Farmhouse Valentine crafts. So let's get started with project number 1. For this project, I'm using one of these house shadow boxes from Dollar Tree. I'll be using this double chalkboard tag as well from Dollar Tree. I'll kind of cut one end off. You can see I've already done that on the other one. And then I'm going to use some wood hearts here. I don't know which shape I'm going to use yet, but there's different shapes and they come in like 24-piece packs. Okay, so the first thing I've done is I've got a flat piece of cardboard here and I've traced that house shape onto it. And of course, using my swing arm cutter here to cut that out. And what I want to do is cover the back where it's open. Now, you don't have to. You can just leave it, especially if it's kind of for your own home decor. And then next thing I want to do, I'm going to use a little washer here. And I'm going to mark a hole and then use my drill to drill a hole there. And then I'm going to take that piece of cardboard I traced, putting it in the right direction on the front, and then mark where I drilled that hole so I can use my crocodile here and punch another hole. And then, trust me, it's really easy and it works great. Adding Beacon Fabri-Tac glue here, I'm going to put my cardboard shape on the back. Glue it all together. Now I'm tracing my house onto some scrapbook paper here, and I will trace a piece for the front and back. And when I'm cutting it out here, I'm actually cutting it about probably a 1/4 or a 1/4 inch smaller than the actual house shape. So that way, once I paint around our house here, a little bit of wood will show here. And this is what I'm talking about. You can see that little bit of wood shown there. Okay, cut another one for the back side. I use these shadow box houses a lot and cover the back and then make it into like a large wood tag. So now what I'm doing, because I forgot to do it first, is I have to find where I punched my hole in that cardboard, right? So I'm using a long upholstery needle to find that. So maybe before you glue your cardboard backing on, if you choose to do that, trace your paper out first and, punch your hole so it's in the same spot as on your cardboard, and then glue your cardboard onto the back of the shadow box house. So that way you're not having to do what I do and lift up the paper and try to find the hole and get it in the same spot. Anyway, so I've used my craft knife here on this piece of chalkboard tag. You could use, a piece of foam board or cardboard or something like that. And I just took the end off, and now I'm kind of using some sandpaper here, of course, and sanding that off. And I'll use Debbie's Design Diary DIY chalk paint, little black dress, and I'm going to paint this black. My original thought, I painted the whole front and the sides, of course, because I was just going to leave it painted. But then later on, I decided I'm going to use some scrapbook paper and cut it out to fit the front, kind of like I did the house. So you'll see that coming up here in just a little bit. Well, I do it off camera. Anyway, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint around the sides of our little shadow box house tag and, around the edges on the front and the back here. Don't need to paint the whole thing because remember, we have paper to cover the middle. And now I'm bringing both of my papers to the sewing machine here, and I'm just sewing on it like it's regular fabric. I've got a size 10 or 11 needle here, stitch length on 4. My tension set on 4. If you try this and you got to play with the needles, if your sewing machine you use a 10 or 11, it's too big, go down to a 9 if the holes are too big. That's all you really have to kind of assess when you're sewing through paper, is getting the holes right. And this is what it looks like. And then I'm taking the open end of my scissor blades and I'm scraping along the edges just to add some rustic texture. So between the sewing and the scraping, we kind of get that rustic farmhouse look. And then I'm using my Fabri-Tac glue and going to glue my papers on to the front and back of our little tag. I know, isn't that cute? It's double-sided paper. Isn't that so cute on the back side of that pink paper? And then here's my piece. It's just black cardstock I cut out to fit the front of that rectangular piece there, leaving a little bit of the edge showing like I did before. And I decided to, gluing that on, and decided to use this shape of hearts here from Dollar Tree. And I cut out some vinyl for I and U, but you could totally use like, metallic markers, white, or if you have a white Sharpie marker, and just write in the words I and U. And now what I want to do, setting that aside, is I'm just taking some of Debbie's Design Diary DIY White Swan chalk paint, mixing a little water in it to kind of, water that up a little bit. Obviously, you're adding water, you're going to water it up. And I'm using a fan brush here, and I'll dip it into my watered down paint, tap off the excess like see here, and then I tap my fan brush to get some splatters. And I'm going to just do it all the way around, and then front and back, of course. It just adds just a nice little texture to it. So here I've got my hearts. I'm using 1 red one and 5 pink ones. And then I'm just placing them, as you can see, 3 on top, 3 on bottom, 2 rows of hearts. But I wanted just the red one, I wanted that to be a little bit different. You can make them all the same color, but I wanted that to just kind of stand out to go with the I and U for I love you, of course. And I'm using the bottom of my ruler to kind of make sure the bottom points of the hearts are all lined up. There we go, after I glue each one. That way I know I got them all nice and even. You could eyeball it, of course, and just glue them on, but, I'm usually a little bit more obsessive about having things straight. And then I haven't glued the last heart on in the lower right column there, but I'm going to go ahead. That way I can move it around to fit my U in there, and then I'll go ahead and glue that in a minute. And then, of course, I will rub those on and then pull the carrier sheet off. But I just thought the red heart stood out a little bit more with the I and the U. We get my last little heart on here. Making sure I'm lined up at the bottom. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this washer on just to give it a tag look. And I've got some ribbon here, and I taped like probably 3 inches on the end to make it kind of like stiff. And then using that upholstery needle to kind of poke it through and some tweezers to pull it out, I can get it through that large space between, that shadow box area. And then I'm just going to tie a little knot near the bottom, cut off the excess. This is really easy to do, but I think really cute. And I'll glue our little front quote on. And then off camera, I'm going to use some of this glitter dust. I'll leave a link down below for you where I got it. And that makes this project complete. Let's move on to project number 2. For this project, I'm going to use one of these long signs from Dollar Tree. They have all sorts of choices. Now, when I first started out, I was choosing this one with the pumpkin because I was thinking I was going to just leave the board as it is and then cover it with like a heart. And, the image, the cutout was small enough to use one of these hearts. This left one here is from Dollar Tree, and the other one I think is from like Joann's or Michael's. And then I have cut out just some trim board. It was like $2.99 for an 8-foot trim board, local hardware store, because I want to frame this and make it just like a long rectangular sign. And then I decided I'm not going to just leave it as it is. I'm going to use some cardstock, and I'm going to cover, the middle of this sign. Now what I'm doing is just really quickly just going around and, drawing where the trim board's going to sit so I can go ahead and tape that part off so that I don't paint in that area. So I'll tape off all around it, of course, because I want to leave that, area free of paint so that the trim board will glue better with wood glue to that long sign. Okay. All right, perfect. I'm going to use Waverly Antique Wax mixed with water for a little staining, and in Debbie's Design Diary DIY chalk paint, little black dress, and I'm just painting around the perimeter because, again, I've decided to fill the center with cardstock. You could paint the whole thing, you know, if you're not going to do the cardstock option. And I'm doing it around the back as well because I will, you know, finish off the back with some cardstock also. All right, coming in with that Waverly wax mixed with water. Love using this for a stain because it just dries so quickly with like my heat tool. I don't have to wait hours for the stain to dry or whatever. So get that done. And then it's always a little darker, you know, once it dries lighter. So that's nice because I usually like a little bit lighter. You can make it darker, you know, the more Waverly wax and less water mixture, it will become darker, of course. Here I am just using some 80 grit sandpaper and just kind of sanding it and making my trim boards look a little more distressed. And then I'll come in with this Tight Bond wood glue and we'll just start adding our glue to the outer perimeter here and giving us our framed in look. Get the two end boards and get the top and the bottom, of course, as you can see. Perfect. One more to go because you wanted to see the whole thing, didn't you? And then off camera, I'll go ahead and clamp that for about half an hour. And while that's happening, you know, I work on some other things. So I've got this mud paint, furniture paint. I get it from a local gal here in town, this mud paint. It's not bad. It's kind of my third favorite. I really like Debbie's Design Diary first. And then I like the Dixie Belle chalk paint second. This is my third choice. But this is easy to get. You know, the others I have to order. So doing a couple of coats here on the heart I've chosen to use. Again, this came from like Michael's or Joann's and their open stock wood, you know, it was like 50 cents or something. And then sanding this so it kind of, you know, matches the distress of the framing around our sign. And then here's my paper. I've got it cut and sewn with some white thread so that that really shows. And then I'm coming in again with the splatter technique, my watered down chalk paint, just doing a little bit of splattering to give it a little something something. And then I'll go ahead and glue this cardstock piece to the back side. This one is not splattered. And then I do have a free printable for you. Now, I can't make it long, so if you're using one of these long signs, but I just did it this way. So, you know, if you wanted to make it a normal sign, you could add a cute little heart to it. You could print it off onto your cardstock paper first and, you know, glue it, Mod Podge it, whatever you want onto a sign. But if you want to make it fit a long sign, you're going to have to cut in half down the center, you know, so you could lay it side by side and then use carbon paper or whatever process you want to trace it on, you know, and then fill in your lettering with paint or, you know, paint pens or something like that. I've chosen to cut it out in vinyl. I created this in my Cricut Design Space program, so just getting my vinyl on here. But I wanted to give you guys something to use, of course, so you could have the same cute look. And then I'll go ahead and get this glued on to the center. Just like that. And then I want to come in here and glue my wood heart down. And then when I got just like as soon as I laid it down, I'm like, that wood heart looks too plain. So you have about a minute with Beacon Fabri-Tac glue. So what I did is and pull it right back off. And I'm coming in with some of the black paint. I used a little black paint that I used on the sign, watered it down, bringing in the fan brush and adding just a few tiny bits of splatter on here, just to, you know, bring it all together and give it a little something. You can see my paint's still wet, and I'm just going to put that right back in. I came in just under a minute. And then I'm going to use this glitter dust spray to just shimmer it up just a slight, and that makes this project complete. Let's move on to our last project, number 3. For this project, I have 2 pieces of muslin material I picked up at Walmart, and I've cut it down to about 21 inches across and 22 inches tall, but I think it would be better at about 24 inches. And then I've got a piece of ticking fabric here, again from Walmart, and it's 14 inches across, and I want it 7 inches tall. So I've just made a little slit in there, and I've ripped it to the size I want, so it's nice and distressed around the edges. And then I just have a little heart pattern here, and I traced it from this little heart on a stick you can get at Dollar Tree. And then what I've done is I wanted 3 different patterns of hearts. And so whatever you choose, you need 5 hearts, and you just need 1 piece of fabric for each heart. But as you can see here, I've got kind of 2 of one plaid, 1 of one plaid, and 2 of a lighter color. You can choose what you want. And then I cut 2 pieces of batting material here. You could use felt. And so on these 3 colored hearts, I cut 2 pieces of batting or felt for these. And on my 2 lighter hearts, I've only cut 1 piece of batting because I'm going to be layering these. So these 2 lighter hearts are going to go on bottom, so I only want 1 piece of batting, and then the other 3 hearts are going to go on top, and so I want 2 pieces of batting to make them, be the top layer. Now you could use Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, hot glue gun for this. Leave one side open, and you're going to glue along the edge if you're a gluer, down one side, down the second side, again along the edge, and then down the third side, leaving 1 section open. Okay? If you're a sewer, of course, I'm going to be sewing. I'm going to take mine to the sewing machine and do the exact same routine here, leaving 1 edge open. We're essentially going to create like a bag look here, and you could use this project as a gigantic, decorative, Valentine bag, but I'm actually going to make it into a pillow. I want it to be like a quote-unquote bag pillow, so to speak, okay? And I know it's kind of a weird concept, but it actually looks really cute, but it would look so cute, sitting, somewhere with the other Valentine stuff around it. But here's what it looks like all sewn. Now, if you're a gluer, we're going to start here with your options. Sewers, sit aside and wait. If you're a gluer, I want you to turn your bag right side out once you've glued it all together, okay? And then at the corner where you've sewn, you're going to pull that out at that corner, and you're going to make like a little triangular shape as you see here. We've done this several times, but I always have new viewers. And then you're going to poke in the point of that triangle shape so that you make like a little recess here, like that, okay? And then what you'll do, matching up your seams, you're going to take your Fabri-Tac or your hot glue, and you're going to glue that together just like this. What we're trying to do is make this sit up if you want to use it like a bag shape. Same thing on either side. Pull it right at that corner seam where you've sewed. Poke in that little corner. Perfect. Kind of match your seams up, right? And then you're going to glue that all together. And this is what you look like at the bottom, just like how a bag would look, like a handbag or something. We want it squared off. And then you're going to turn it so it's wrong side out, pretending that, you've glued. For me, I'm pretending that's all glued. And you're going to fold down that glued area there, and you're going to glue that together so that kind of stiffens that bottom. Each side, you're going to glue down that pointed area so it kind of gives it stability and it's nice and stiff, okay? So for us sewing people, your bag is already wrong side out, and we're going to kind of do the same process, except not gluing, but we're wrong side out. You're going to pull it at that corner point, pin it, so you've got a nice triangular shape here. You're going to do that on each end. Pull it out at that sewn corner, make it like a triangle, pin it, and then you're going to take that and sew directly across there on your sewing machine. It's about probably 2 inches down from the very tip of the point down on the fabric. Okay? And this is what it should look like. Nice and easy. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Perfect. Now we're already sewn and ready to go. Pull the pins out, and then now we're going to glue it just like the gluers are doing. We're going to glue those little points down toward the center there, and that's going to give us that stability and that squared off look. I'm just going to pin it for now till my Fabri-Tac glue sets up. Okay? And you can skip all this if you don't want to do it. You don't care. You're going to kind of make it into a pillow shape. I was just kind of giving you options. You could totally just leave it just like it is. Sew or glue the 3 sides and leave it. Nice and easy. Okay? Now, our hearts, I'm going to come in and we're going to go ahead and start. Like I said, my 2 lighter colors have 1 piece of batting, and my 3 printed fabric hearts have 2 pieces of batting. So I am, of course, going to sew these, but I kind of want to just spot glue my batting onto my fabric. But if you were a gluer, just go ahead and glue all of these together, okay? I mean, glue your batting or your felt onto each heart. Just completely get that done. And if you're a sewer, maybe you don't want to add sewing on the heart, so, you know, you can just glue it, your choice. But I'm just kind of spot gluing these together because, like I said, I'll go ahead and take those to the sewing machine. And because I just want to add that little bit of texture to it. Just a decorative texture. It doesn't really, the glue will hold perfectly fine and look cute without sewing. And then, of course, I'm going to take all 5 hearts to the machine and just sew around the edges of each one. I'm just going to do one here, show you, and then, of course, do the rest off camera. Okay, and then this is what it looks like with that little bit of decorative sewing on it. Just a straight stitch, but it just adds a little something, something. All right, so my bag's glued, ready to go. So I'm going to turn it so it's right side out. You can see what it looks like, that nice square bottom here, or pillow if you want it to be a pillow. And here's my hearts already. And what I'm going to do is just kind of take my fingernail here, as you can see, and just kind of scratch along the edges of the fabric, and it just distresses it up really nicely, frays it up really nicely. And now I'm going to place my little ticking fabric on here. And if you're a gluer, go ahead and just glue that all the way down. And I am gluing it so it's about 5 inches up from the bottom. Just about. Since I'm a sewer, of course, I'm going to go ahead and pin it, and I'm going to sew it onto my pillow or your bag. Bag pillow. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, and you can see how much room I have at the top, but you really need a little bit more than that. That's why I was saying where I cut it to be a 22-inch bag, you might want it to be a 24-inch. I don't know. You can see how mine looks at the end and see, you know, if you like it. But if you want a little bit more poof out the top, you might want to, you know, have the overall height dimension of your main fabric pieces be a little bit taller. And I'm going to sew this, like I'm going to sew around this square twice, and I'm going to sew it kind of whimsical and crookedy just to kind of give it a fun farmhouse texture. And once I'm done with this last little side, I'll show you what that looks like. See, you can see here I don't try to be straight with the stitching at all. But again, if you're a gluer, you can just glue that piece completely on. Okay, now we're going to start placing our hearts on. I'm going to do my more plainer muslin fabric, the bottom layer that only has 1 piece of batting on it. And then my other 2 pieces, or 3 pieces that have the 2 pieces of batting on, we're going to place that in the top row. And now you can see why I did 1 piece of batting on the bottom row and then 2 pieces at the top to kind of take up that space. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just glue these completely down. So if you're, you know, a gluer or a sewer, just glue them down. It's just whatever pattern you want. And I'm just kind of gluing in here in between my batting there because I didn't quite get it sewn together. I just thought it just made a cute little pattern here. Like I said, if you had all one color, it would look super cute. All one pattern, whatever you want. That's your design concept here. Perfect. I love it how it looks. And then I got this Be Mine wood piece. They came this from Hobby Lobby for $2.99. I got it like 40% off. These are the other wood pieces that come in the kit. And I'm going to use my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide ink and this little makeup brush. You can get this smaller size and a bigger size at Dollar Tree. I love to use these for inking and just kind of inking the front and the back of this wood piece. And we'll set that aside, and now I'm going to use, because some batting here, to start making my pillow into a pillow. If you want the bag option, make it into a bag. Now I've got the top, I'm holding it on there, and I've got some red and cream twine from Dollar Tree and this pom-pom trim from Hobby Lobby, and this ribbon I believe I got at Michael's. And then you could use this crochet trim from Dollar Tree, would look super cute. I'm holding my top, I've got it ready to go, and I'm going to tie that twine into a little knot here to cinch that opening. But see, I think it would look a little cuter with a little bit more sticking out the top, a couple more inches. That's why I was saying if you want yours to be, the poof at the top to be a little bit taller, but it looks cute either way. And then I'm going to bring in, once that's tied in a knot, bring in just some pom-pom trim here. Just do a little half knot. This is the ribbon that I got at Michael's. It looked like this. I got it at Christmas time. I'll go ahead and tie that into a nice little bow here. Just adding some different textures with, you know, the twine and the pom-pom trim and the ribbon, but you could just stick with one kind of trim or ribbon, whatever you want. Right? Letting that all hang down, and then I'll add the bee mine. It's got a nice space here in the bee, and I'll add that to the twine here and just tie a little bow around it in that space there. Perfect. And I'll adjust the length of my pom-pom trim and my Dollar Tree twine. And then I made another little bow here out of just some regular brown twine from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add that to the center of the heart just to give it a little something something there. And then I've got some beads here. I painted two of them, kind of a dark reddish color here. I'll add one of each color on the end of each twine and tie a little knot. And then once I do that, that makes this project complete. So I hope you enjoyed all of our projects today. Please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. Of course, you know what I'm going to say. Let me know which project was your favorite. But also I want to know if you would like this last project here better as just a cute little bag to go in ensemble, or if you like the idea of like how I'm going to use it as like, you know, a different twist on a pillow. If you walked in here for the first time and you're just checking things out and you're digging what you saw, before you click off, make sure you hit that red subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another project from me. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. When you look into the past, it might be difficult to focus on something good out of a situation that you walk through. Anger, physical or mental hurt, even betrayal leaves lots of room for bad thoughts that have left you feeling hurt and alone. It's easy to reflect on these memories with tears in your eyes, a numb heart, a feeling of contempt, but God can lead you to find grace and mercy to release the situation to Him, forgive the past, set some boundaries, move forward, and let God have the justice so that you can focus on finding joy for the morning. It won't be easy. Just as you think you've made a small step forward, the enemy finds a small sliver of ground under your feet to push you 3 steps back. And as hard as you try, you often dredge up memories that leave you feeling as if you've made no giant stride forward and you're starting back at point zero. That's what the enemy wants you to believe. But God has a different plan. However, with God's plan, you have to be willing to do the work of opening your heart to Him. You have to want to acknowledge the pain, or it will continue holding you back in the land of bitter agony. You have to want to make the decisive thought to change the way the circumstance worked its way into your darkness of what you are carrying. You have to want to make the change to allow God to bring you through it. You're tired of dwelling on it, crying about it, feeling angry toward it, but you have to trust God to change your thought process. You must take each thought captive, let it go, and allow God to change the past hurt. You have to find the deep down root of bitterness and betrayal and allow your mind to accept that you cannot change what has happened, but that you can allow the grace of God to help you find the forgiveness in it all. Without this forgiveness and without God helping you through it, you won't survive. And when the time comes and when you're finally ready for a breakthrough of peace in your heart and you finally decided to let God do His work in you and you're ready to give up the frustration of the pain and the heartache, know that there's no doubt that through the months and years that follow, you'll often think about the traumatic situation or the anger of the act. But hopefully with each thought that follows, the act of finally forgiving what has happened to you will bring you peace in knowing that the love and comfort of Jesus will continue to breathe His grace and mercy into your life, making it easier to continue to face what comes next. Not on your own, but with Jesus by your side, because remember, He will never leave you, and you never have to face those thoughts by yourself again. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.